right, so in this case here, this graph here, it starts at 0 and it is a straight line and it has a constant increase. So this one here is a direct proportion. While this graph, because it doesn't start on 0, then it is not a direct proportion. Hello guys, welcome to my video. In today's video, the learning objective is to be able to solve problems involving direct proportion. And we're going to consider two worked examples. Okay, let's start with the definition of direct proportion. Now, what does it mean when we say direct proportion? It means an increase in one quantity will cause a similar increase in another quantity. So if one quantity is doubled, the other is also doubled. That's the test of proportionality. All right, let's have the first worked example. Solve the direct proportion problem by finding the rule. Okay, so rule in here would mean the equation, the linear equation. Okay, so the problem is a pizza scrambled egg recipe uses 6 eggs and to serve 4 people. Okay, so in here we can underline the keywords. So 6 eggs and 4 people. Okay, from that problem, we can actually create a table of values comparing the eggs and the people. So we have in here this table. X represents the number of people and Y represents the number of eggs needed for the serving. So if 0 number of people, we have 0 number of eggs. So 4 people there, we need 6 eggs, okay? And 8 people, we need 12 eggs. So you see here that 4 is doubled and 6 is doubled as well, okay? So 12 people, you will have then what number of eggs do you need? Okay, by extending this, we will come to know that this one should be 18. Why is that? Because it is increasing by 6. So here would be by plus 6 as well. Okay, so plus 6, so we get 18. And then on the x side, we have 4 plus 4 here, plus 4 and plus 4. Okay, now if the problem is as easy as that, we can just extend the table of values and we can already get the answer there. But for example, you're working out how many eggs would be needed if you're going to serve 80 people. Then it's going to be like plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 until you get to 80. And it's not, it's going to be a long table of values. So instead of using the values, extending it, we are going to use the rule. Okay. So what is the rule that we're talking about here? It is the y equals mx plus c. All right? So this m here would be the gradient, as we have discussed in the first videos. We know that this m here is the gradient. It is the rate of change. So which is equal to rise over run. Okay, the rise is represented by the y-axis. So we have 6 here. So 6 divided by the run is the x. So you have 4 here. So 6 divided by 4 is equal to 1.5. So we know now that m is equal to 1.5. Now, what is the c? The c is the y-intercept, and in this case, it is equal to 0. So, if we're going to now create the rule, it's going to be equal to m, which is 1.5, and then you have x. And it's supposed to be plus c, but because c is 0, we don't need to write it down. Okay? So this is the equation or the rule that we need in order to solve the proportion problem. Okay, so let's go back to this problem a while back. So if there are 4 people, how many eggs are needed? So using the table of values, we came to know that it should be 18. Now, let's prove that that is correct by using this equation. So you have your x, which is the number of people, is equal to 12, and your y, which is the number of eggs, is the one we're looking for. Now we're going to use that equation and substitute the given values. So 1.5 times x, that should be 1.5 times 12. Okay, because x is equal to 12. So that should be now equal to 1.5 is equal to how many? And that would be 18. All right. So 18 eggs are needed to make pizza scrambled egg recipe, which is good for 12 people. Okay, so that would be 18 eggs. All right, now let's extend that and let's see that, let us say that there are 80 people we're serving. Okay, all right, let's extend this, and we're going to have, let's say, 80 eggs. All right, 80 eggs. How many people can be served by that? So here we're going to get the rule again. So y is equal to, let me just put a line in there so it will indicate that we're doing another problem. So 1.5 x there. Okay, so in this case that's 80, and so this one here would be, now y is 80, so we substitute 80 here equals 1.5 x. Okay, so we need to get rid of the 1.5 that goes with the x so that we can isolate the x. Okay, we're using again here inverse operation, so 1.5. Okay, so you have divided by 1.5. All right, so what do we get here? Right, so 1.5 will cancel out with 1.5. That would be equal to 1x or just x. And 80 divided by 1.5 is going to be 120. So it means to say that with the 80 eggs, we can make a pizza scrambled egg recipe that is good for 120 people. Okay, so this one is 120 people you can serve with 80 eggs that you have to prepare a pizza scrambled egg. Okay, so you can see how we used the rule. So the rule here is y equals 1.5x. Okay, so let's look at the graph of this. Okay, so the graph is that, and you have the vertical, which is the y, is the number of eggs, and the x-axis is the number of people. So that the information that we have here, we can read as well in this graph. So for people, you have 6, you need 6 eggs. And then 8, for 8 people, you need 12. And for 12 people, we need 18. Okay? So you can read it in that way as well. So if you have 20 people, you need 30 eggs. And if you extend this coordinate plane, then you will be having the answer for this. So it will lie on the straight line. All right, so let us go to the next sample problem, which is that there. Mark was paid $30 for picking 12 buckets of, that should be of, sorry about that, so of tomatoes. How many buckets would Mark need to pick for $20? All right, so firstly is the rule. Again, so it's the rule we're looking for. So y equals mx plus c. So obviously here the c would be 0. Okay, and the m here would be, if there is increase in 30, then there would be also the same increase in the buckets of tomatoes. So for the m, it's going to be 30, which is the rice, divided by 12. So your m now would be equal to 2.5. Okay? So your equation now then, or the rule, should be equal to 2.5x. Okay? So what is y? Y is the money paid, so that's the dollar, and the x would be how many buckets of tomatoes. Okay, buckets, how many buckets? All right, of tomatoes. All right, so we're going to substitute these values here. And so what is that one there, the given? So $20. So you have $20 is your y. So you substitute it here. So 20 is equal to 2.5x. All right. Now again, isolate the x. So we need the inverse operation. So divided by 2.5 and divided by 2.5. Okay, so this will cancel out with that, giving you 1. So that's 1x or just x. And then 20 divided by 2.5, that is going to be 8. So 8 buckets Mark needs to pick for $20. So 8 buckets of tomatoes. All right. Now let's look at the this should be now number 2. What we are looking for is to solve the problem, which is this: how many buckets would Mark need to pick for 20? We're going to look at the graph. Okay, so the graph would be that. So the pay is y, and the buckets would be the x. So you see here that you have 8 buckets, you will have $20. So if he was able to pick only 4 buckets, how much will he get paid? It's $10. So you can read the information from the graph. All right. So the difference between worked example number 1 and example number 2 is that in this case here, you may not need to draw out the table of values. Number 1, we made the table of values. In here, we can go directly to the equation, okay? And looking at the rate of change, which is the gradient. Okay, so after that, then we're going to now give a summary. And what do we need to take from this lesson? So we need to remember here the direct proportion meaning or definition. Increase in one quantity will cause a similar increase in another quantity. If one increases more than the other, then it means it is not a direct proportion. Okay, so what else do we need to remember? When drawn in a graph, the graph is a straight line and it starts at 0. Okay, the next one is the constant increase in both variables. And you have how can we determine whether the graph is a direct proportion or not? All right, so in this case here, this graph here, it starts at 0 and it is a straight line and it has a constant increase. So this one here is a direct proportion. While this graph, because it doesn't start on 0, then it is not a direct proportion. All right, that ends the video and I'll see you in my next presentation. Bye for now.